Today's topic is Tantra. And we know from our experiences here that Tantra is the vast science that helps with everything in our human experience. However, our point of focus today is one particular aspect of the human experience that tends to be rather popular, and that is the sexual aspect of our life. So how can Tantra help us to fulfill this part of our being? Well, Tantra literally could be called the path of love and oneness. Shiva and Shakti. We've talked about this a lot. Shiva is the masculine archetype, cosmic consciousness. Shakti, feminine creative energy. And they are always one. And to remind you, we see them because we see things in duality, but the whole process of yoga is bringing us back to this union between Shiva and Shakti, matter and energy, or consciousness and energy. So, this is a path of yoga. This is a legitimate path of union. And what happens is, I'm struggling here whether to follow the PowerPoints or just let it flow. I've never taught this with PowerPoint before. Let me just talk for a while and then we'll go back into the PowerPoints, okay? So this is a path of union, not only within ourselves, but now we have the opportunity to come into union with another. And when we come into union with another, there's that much more energy coming into this experience. So Tantra is really about expanding our perception so that we can perceive more of our infinite being. And this can be done all alone or it can be done in relationship. Tantra is the teaching for the modern age. Okay, the Vedas, the Yoga Sutras, these are older teachings for older humanity, different type of consciousness several thousand years ago. So this is the teaching for the material world, how to use all the tools in this physical reality for our own spiritual awakening. So it's a beautiful gift because most of us are not going to go into the cave and meditate for 30 years, but most of us will be in relationship. So how can relationship help us to fulfill our human potential? This is a beautiful teaching and I'm very fortunate to share it with you, and I've been fortunate enough to have it in my life for the past 10 years. And it's radically transformed the way I view relationships, the way I view love and sex and myself. So this is why I'm very passionate about sharing it with you. I do workshops with this. I've been doing it for a long time. Well, 10 years, that's not so long, but long enough to have had some good experiences and heard and learned a lot from my teachers, the people I studied with, and then the people who are in the classes and workshops that I've given. So although I am not a woman, I do have good information for you today. Usually when I'm with a partner, I teach with a partner so that the women can hear her perspective. But having taught with a partner over the last 10 years, I pretty much can understand some of the perspective without actually being in the body. So what you can do is also attend the lectures on Wednesday nights. Nikki gives a lecture on Tantra on Wednesday nights. So we teach essentially very much in parallel with each other. So this is a legitimate path of yoga and expansion of consciousness. It's all about your evolution. And please remember, yoga is the path of self-mastery. We master the body through asana, we master the breath, and eventually we master the mind. But one important part of our being that is often suppressed, repressed, even have negative emotions about or negative sensations from the culture around us, that somehow sex is not something that we should talk about openly. So to master ourselves, all of ourselves, we also need to master our sexual energy and create a healthy relationship with our sexuality. For many people, because of the programs from culture, religion, education, parents, there's often a sense of guilt around sex these days, or even a sense that somehow it's dirty or somehow we should really just keep it off to the side and completely separated from our spiritual path. Tantra says your sexual energy is your spiritual energy. Because what is your sexual energy craving for? It's craving for union with another. It's craving for that sense of merging, that deep heart connection. And that sexual energy that's craving for union is the same energy that's craving for union with the divine, for the full awakening. Because when we go into a deep embrace, making love, and you can feel that connection at the level of the heart. And this whole path is about how to go into the heart and how to allow ourselves to feel these connections, not just with a lover, but with everything in the universe around us. So through this path of working with a partner or with ourselves, we learn how to, of course, master this energy. But most importantly, I want you to understand this is really about opening the heart. And in the modern day, so many people have built a wall around their heart, myself included, to protect myself from more trauma. And at the same time, what happens is we prevent things from coming in because we protect ourselves. We prevent the good, beneficial things from entering into our beings because of this wall. So this is a path of coming back to wholeness, and it's a path of coming back into your full power. Because once you start to tap into this sexual creative force and use it in a way that helps to amplify your potential, it changes your life. Because rather than just losing it and abusing it, which in the modern world is very common, we can now take this strongest energy that we have in our being, the only energy that can create another human being that we have. This is a miracle. So we take this and we turn it into the central channel up through the chakras, and we illuminate our chakras. So this is fulfilling your human potential and taking you from physical to spiritual. And in fact, according to yoga and Tantra, there is no difference between the physical and the spiritual. They're all one always. So your sexual energy is your spiritual energy. And remember, every single form of energy in the universe has polarity. What does polarity mean? Two opposite charges, a plus charge and a negative charge. And I mentioned this before, but please understand what's happening in every form of energy is that law of attraction between the plus charge and the negative charge, yin and yang, masculine and feminine, Shiva and Shakti, whatever you want to call it. It's all the same indication of this interplay that goes on from the smallest level of the particle to the biggest cosmic universal level. So this is the dance of attraction between these two polar opposites. And this is about the connection, and it always, always starts here. Okay? A lot of the time, people think, well, if I get the right partner, if I find the right relationship, then I'll be fulfilled. Then I can finally have the happiness that I've been looking for. Tantra says this is a misunderstanding. We need to become whole in ourselves so that then we can go into relationship with another and have two whole beings coming together. There's a beautiful expression or a way that I like to see it. I become one whole being, and I meet another beautiful being, and then we come together and we merge. And if at some point we need to separate, we're still whole beings. We're not relying on somebody else to complete us, per se. So the path of Tantra is really about fulfilling your potential, and you can do that alone or in partnership. So remember, you are the microcosm, the universe is the macrocosm. So what we're doing through this path of Tantra is also lighting up the chakras. When you start to send that sexual energy through the body, it does amazing things when you do this consciously now. So this is also a very powerful way to awaken Kundalini. Now in Tantra we talk a lot about the orgasm, but please understand the orgasm is never the goal. The orgasm is something that is a tool, really. It's a good tool, it's a fun tool, but why is there so much emphasis on orgasm in Tantra? And I did talk about this a little bit during the yamas and niyamas. When we go into a deep state of orgasm, we transcend the ego, we transcend the mind, and we go beyond this sense of duality into this oneness. And we can experience this alone or with a partner. So as we go into this deep state of surrender, and this is really what it's about, surrender, then we open the gates, and this starts to change everything. So we say the whole universe is making love because of that law of attraction between Shiva and Shakti. In Tantra, everything is divine. There's nothing that should not be here. There's nothing that is not divine. Every particle of this universe is a manifestation of God, according to Tantra. So everything is accepted. If everything is divine, even the cow shit on the side of the road in India and the people dying of cancer, everything in this universe is supposed to be exactly as it is. It's just our level of consciousness that has a hard time perceiving the bigger picture and seeing how this all fits together in a beautiful, harmonious, loving way from a creator that is here to lift us back to the source. So there's no right or wrong. There's not saying that this is something you should or should not do. Ultimately, what this path is about communication. And this is a big one because we need to learn to communicate to go deeper into relationship. And for me, this was a huge obstacle for a long time. It's about intimacy, and it's ultimately about the deepest state of love that you can experience. Because when you go into Tantra, you learn to make love for longer. No more 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You can make love for hours and hours and hours. People say, well, I don't know if I have that much time. Well, the idea is that when you can make love for a half hour and an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, literally 5 hours, all day long if you have the time, then you can go into a deep state of intimacy. Because if it's over in 10 minutes, how deep did you really get into that connection? But if you can make love for several hours and meditate while you're making love with your partner, you go into so much more depth of connection than you can from just a physical release or a physical pleasure. And that's what it's really about. How deep can you go into the heart? So once we go into our own hearts, this is an opportunity to experience the love of the divine. And when we have love for another human being, true love, this is another opening, another gateway or an opportunity to experience not just human love of attachment and ego, but it's a possibility to open to the divinity, to the love of the divine. So you know when you have been in love with someone, how everything is wonderful, the sun is shining brighter, the colors are brighter, everything smells prettier, everything is just at a different level of frequency vibration because that's coming from within you. So this is what we want to bring ourselves back into the heart so that we can experience this love all the time, not just while we're having sex. So the orgasm is an opening to the highest state of consciousness. Remember I asked Fred, in French they say the little death, which mean in French le petit moi, whatever that sound is. It's the little death of the ego. What is the ego responsible for? Separation. I am me and you are you. That's what the ego says. The ego is not bad. You have to have an ego to survive on this planet. You need to eat, you need to feed yourself and your family, etc. But we need to master the ego. Same as the mind, same as the emotions, the path of self-mastery. So, through the orgasm, literally, you are raising your vibration. Because every time you have a good orgasm, it's bliss, right? It's ecstasy. And anytime your body experiences bliss or ecstasy, your frequency goes higher. So there is a lot of emphasis on how to cultivate more and longer and deeper orgasms. But remember, the orgasm's not the goal. It's just a nice part of the play that we have to enjoy. So this is a massive path of purification. As you start to send this incredible energy through your body, what's it going to do? The same thing as if you do pranayama, you're purifying the nadis. So now you send this amazing creative force through the whole body, through all the nadis, all 72,000 channels, and you light it up. This is what's possible through the purification, through using the sexual energy. Now, we're going to start with men because, let's face it, it's usually the men who come first anyway. And
how long are you practicing on that one?
Every time I teach. Okay? So, what I want to introduce is some important concepts. Don't worry, ladies, we're going to get to you next. And the important thing to remember is that it's really good for both of you, men and women, to hear the other story. Because you need to understand, it's not just about one side. 40. Okay. Now, in general, what happens when a couple gets together to make love? There's stimulation, arousal, and we're going to go to the men first. Usually, let's say this is 100% arousal, and that would be the orgasm. And this is the time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, all the way 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, okay? So we got 10 here, 20, 30. I need to do this so you can see clearly what I'm saying. Okay, so modern research has done Masters and Johnson in the last century, I think in the 60s and 70s, had a very big, expansive research project where they looked into the sexuality of human beings. And there's been other in modern times that have also done this, but this is one of the most famous research groups to look into sexology. And what they found through the research, and I'm going to give you a generalization. I know there's always exceptions to the rules, okay? But in general, what happens when a man is making love, he gets aroused, and he gets to 100% orgasm in anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. Okay? So, a woman, on the other hand, with sexual stimulation, she takes her time. And that's not a very good pen. She's already frustrated. Okay. So a woman generally takes a different curve of pleasure. And she usually gets to orgasm, if at all, in anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes. Now, you can see there's a big gap here. And that's what's the cause of a lot of problems in intimate relationships, especially for the woman. The guy's already asleep. He doesn't care. All right? So what are we doing in Tantra is the men now learn that it is possible and beneficial to separate the orgasm from the ejaculation. When a man has an orgasm, what usually happens? He also has an ejaculation where the semen come out and then he depleted. Ejaculation when you lose the semen, coming, jizz, sperm, I don't know what else to say. Okay? So, when a man has an ejaculation, he is losing his life force because that is the energy that is used to create another human being. So what Taoism, what Tantra, and other esoteric teachings about sexuality all say the exact same thing. The man needs to save this energy like it's the most important thing in his life because it is. It's his creative force. This is the energy that drives anything a man does, whether it be art, music, business, hobby, sport, it doesn't matter. Whatever we do, we use this creative force, not just to make babies, but that creative force is driving every activity in our life. So imagine if every day, and this is what happens in modern world, there are men who ejaculate every day, sometimes several times a day, and each time a man ejaculates, the body has to rebuild up the sperm. And it takes energy from all the other parts of the body, draining it, to then send it into reproduction of these sperm cells. So basically, by ejaculating, we are depleting our life force and we are shortening our lifespan as men. The good news is Taoism, I talk about Taoism in conjunction with Tantra because they go very much hand in hand. There's some different practices, but the teachings and the philosophy is very similar. And they both say that by learning to move this energy through the being rather than exploding it out, this is what allows a man to step into his full potential. Because if every day you're pulling a little bit of air out of the tire, every day, eventually that tire is going to get flat and you're going to be totally depleted. So I know from having taught these workshops and worked and studied and been with men over the last 10 years in this path, there are men who can't fall asleep without ejaculating. They have to masturbate before bed or have sex before bed because they're so stressed out from their jobs and they get to home at night and they could either have drinks and they don't want to drink every night, so they figure if they masturbate, that's one easy way to fall asleep. So you can already tell if a man is falling asleep almost immediately after ejaculating, there's something going on there. And Taoist texts talk about the fact that a man in his teens can ejaculate every day. That's fine. A man in his 20s, every other day. A man in his 30s, once a week. A man in his 40s, once a month. And after 40, a man should never ejaculate again unless he wants to create another baby. Because as we get older, it gets harder to replenish this energy. So it's very important for us to conserve this energy. And I will go into my personal experience. I'm going to talk very openly today, very directly, and if I make you uncomfortable, I'm going to keep talking, okay? So just get ready. It's going to get graphic in here, okay? If you need to excuse yourself, that's fine. I won't be insulted. So what the man learns to do is master his own ejaculation. And this is something that's one of the greatest challenges I have ever faced. I've been on this path for 10 years, and I'm at a higher level now, but I can't say I'm 100% master of this body response. So what we do as men, and this is important for you women to understand, because if you want a man to become tantric, and trust me, you do, because then you get to make love for hours, you get to go into the heart, you get to experience a spiritual path together. So if your man is not tantric, please understand that you can help teach him these things, and it's important to understand what the man has to go through. Women are born for Tantra. You Shakti, you're already open and ready to experience the highest state. You don't have to worry about any of this idea of controlling an ejaculation. Just go into the bliss. So you're very blessed in that way. Of course, there are other things that you might have to deal with that doesn't have to do with this, but for the men, this is a great challenge. Now, how does a man get to this point of learning to separate? Well, let's say between 60 and 80% is the safe zone. So 100% is an ejaculation, yeah? What we want to try to do as men, and now here's where it starts to get graphic. We learn to train by ourselves, because if you start trying to do this when you're with a beautiful Shakti and she just makes the right sound or the right move and it's game over, you've already ejaculated. So what we want to learn to do by ourselves through the practice of the art of self-stimulation, which we know is masturbation, we learn our response to sexual arousal. And then I know where 100% is, and I know when I'm getting close, and then I back off. So what we do is we go and we dance in this range from 60 to 80%. And we're stimulating ourselves, and then we cool off. And how do we cool off? We can relax. And what do I do with the energy now that I've got it built up? Yes. Thank you. Okay, I've done my job. Sublimation. Okay, so sublimation is one of the most important parts of this tantric path. Now, when a man's in the 60-80%, he learns to just stay here. And as this energy builds and builds and builds, suddenly it gets to a place where it's more powerful than if he had ejaculated. Now you've got this tremendous energy running through you. Rather than an explosion and starting the snoring, you're expanding and expanding with this power. And what happens is, as a man does this, he starts to learn how to come in harmony with the woman. And he can stay longer and longer and longer. And when you're here, you learn how to sublime the energy to stay away from what we call at about 95 to 99%. This is called the PNR, the point of no return. When a man gets to this level, it doesn't matter if the world implodes and an earthquake swallows you whole, you're still going to ejaculate. And a man knows this. When that twitch happens, you know what's coming. Literally, okay? So what you need to do is learn how to stay and dance in this zone. And then you relax, you sublime the energy, and you get more energy. Then you build back up. You build energy, then you relax a little, do the sublimation, you build more energy. And now you have more energy and more pleasure than you ever had from this very powerful yet short explosive orgasm that creates an ejaculation. Guys, let's be honest. How long does our orgasm last? So short. 10 seconds, 30 seconds, if a minute, then you're already, your head is spinning, okay? So, women, on the other hand, can have orgasms. Some women can have orgasms that last a long time. Through this practice, men, this is the good news, you can start to have multiple orgasms that last for minutes, a half hour, an hour. Your body is just totally electric. Everything is on fire, we could say, and charged. And you are having waves of ecstasy like a female orgasm, where it's like riding the crest, then a little bit of a descent, then back up. And this takes us into harmony with the feminine. So this is a very important part to remember for men, is how to do this. The training for men, besides the masturbation, is exactly what you yogis are doing. This is why I'm very happy to teach to yogis, because I don't have to go into the fundamentals. You do bandhas. Bandhas are the key for men, especially Mula Bandha. Because when a man learns to master these muscles of Mula Bandha, he can actually stop the ejaculation from happening. I contract, I know I'm getting close, I'm getting near that point of no return. Time to cool it down and shift the energy up. So what you already have is the skill set necessary to become tantric men, because you are yogis. George.
When you do Mula Bandha, do you take that moment to rest?
Yes. So through the course of experiments, you find out what works for you, right? So actually, tantric men and women are encouraged to masturbate daily to keep that energy cultivated, to keep the fire burning, and to use the sublimation, not just for pleasure, but for expanding your consciousness. Send that sexual energy into your third eye, and you can manifest whatever it is you visualize. That's part of something we're going to get to later called sex magic. So, by learning to dance here, this will allow you to make love for as long as you want. And trust me, you're not missing anything, because this explosion lasts for 10 seconds. These orgasms last for as long as you feel like you have time that day. You just keep going into the deeper and deeper state of union with your partner or by yourself, and deeper states of ecstasy and love, okay? So this is what I want you to understand. Men, you have training to do, and it takes time, and you will fail many times going to that point of no return, because we are wired to go for pleasure. And we've created a habit already that says, yeah, I know it's at the point of no return, and I know that it feels good. Now you're telling me I need to wait a couple weeks or months or longer until I have my next full body orgasm. Okay, I'll try it tomorrow, right? Now is the moment. I'm going, I'm feeling good. All right, I know I'm gonna feel better if I finish, but all I can do, guys, same as when I try to teach anything about yoga, is plant these seeds and tell you that it's infinitely superior to have full body orgasms that last for a half hour than it is to have a 10-second ejaculation. I think the words just say it clearly enough, but the problem for most men is that they don't have the discipline. They don't have the mental control, because once you get into the pleasure, it's very easy to lose control and just don't care anymore. So this is a path for men that is really taking you to another level of self-mastery, because it's a tremendous challenge. So we want to do the sublimation, men, before we either play with self-stimulation, let's try to say it nicely, during the self-stimulation and after. So if you are all fired up, you saw a beautiful woman, and then you go say, okay, I'm going to think about that for a moment, and you already have this energy built up, it's very easy. It's like it's already a balloon that's full, and then you start stimulating more, it's going to explode. So before you sit down, lay down, whatever you're going to do, start doing your sublimation practice. Do a little bit of Uddiyana Bandha, Mula Bandha, Jalandhara Bandha, headstand, shoulder stand, whatever works for you. Okay? Now, as you are doing, listen up please, as you're doing the self-stimulation, of course you are also doing sublimation, keeping away from the point of no return. And then after, rather than finishing with this big balloon that's about to explode, next time you see a beautiful woman, you can sublime the energy after and send it into whichever chakra that you would like to open. The important thing to remember also is that Tantra is not just for couples that are men and women. It's for everybody. Any type of sexual preference, everybody has a masculine and a feminine energy, everybody has Shiva and Shakti, everybody can experience Tantra. It's not exclusive in any way, it's totally all-inclusive. So this is another good teaching for seeing the equality among everybody. Now, I'll share a little story with you about sublimation. I had a partner, and Alethea knows her well, Ray, and I met Ray. She came to my class when I was teaching over on the other school, and I fell in love with her on first sight. And I went and adjusted her 4 times in the first class. And there was 100 students in the class, and all I did was walk to her every asana. After class, she asked if it was okay if she gave me her number. I said, yeah, I think that's okay. So I came to visit her here. We dated for a while, and the first time we're going to make love, we go into the bedroom, and everything is already very passionate, and all the foreplay is happening, and I say, hang on, and I go, and I do a headstand for a few minutes. It's true. This is a true story, I promise you. Then I come back, and we make love for half hour, an hour, and I say, hang on, I go do another headstand. I come back, we keep making love. Now, I didn't know what she was thinking until literally about a year later when we started teaching Tantra together. And we're in a group like this, and she starts telling the story, and she says, yeah, everything's amazing, and we're having a beautiful time, and then he goes and does a headstand. And I was like, what the hell is happening here? Then he came back and made love to me for an hour, and then he did another headstand, and I thought, oh my God. But then he came back to me again and made love for another 2 hours. I said, I don't care about the headstands. This is fine, okay? Good. Do as many headstands as you need to do. Now, this is a few years ago. I don't need to do headstand anymore, so I don't have people like looking at me strange at the beginning of a date, or the end of the date, I should say. So the sublimation is what I'm trying to say is actually extremely important, okay, for men and for women. Now, Mula Bandha, breath. The other thing is breath. So this is the same for men and women. Mula Bandha is extremely important for men and women. Let's go back to Mula Bandha for a second. I've talked about the yogic perspective. Let's talk about the sexual perspective. When a man gets good with Mula Bandha, he can start to control stronger erections that last longer. He can prevent premature ejaculation. He can help to prevent prostate cancer. He can help to control the orgasmic response, and he can help to make the orgasms last for longer and longer. And I'll get to the benefits of Mula Bandha for the women when we talk about them. Now, the other thing is breath, okay? We have to breathe. And usually most men, when they get excited, and women, and that fast breath makes us lose control of the energy. Everything gets fired up, and it's boiling point, and it's very easy to go over the edge and explode. So men, when we're making love, we need to learn to breathe consciously. Long, slow, deep breathing gives us great control over the energy, okay? So this is an important part to remember, is the breath as well. And there's one other technique that men can do besides sublimation. Sublimation is up, 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 constantly up. Taoist practices are more grounded, more about the earth and connecting to the vitality of Mother Earth. Taoist practices do what's called the microcosmic orbit, where they send the energy up the spine, and then it goes over the top of the head, down through the front channel. So there's a channel in the back, through the spine, what we know as Sushumna Nadi, and then there's a channel that runs down the front, and it becomes one long orbit, or we could say, it's not a circle, but it's got that long circle. And this is a way that feeds the entire body. It doesn't necessarily open the third eye, but it brings great health at the physical level because you're feeding all the organs, you're feeding all the systems with this sexual energy. So there's a little bit of differences, and I do all of this that I can just to experiment with it, because we know how important the experiments are to teach us what works for us. And the other one is spinal breathing, where you inhale up and exhale down. We do this with me in class sometimes. So just learning to master the movement of energy with your breath is a very powerful tool for tapping into deeper levels of Tantra. Now this also has to do with your lifestyle. We're all yogis here, and that makes it a lot easier for us to go into these practices. If you are, or anybody is, leading a lifestyle that's not very healthy, and they're putting toxins in their body, they're putting toxins into their nadis, their energy channels. So there's no way for a guy or a woman who drinks a lot of alcohol, eats a lot of meat, smokes a lot of cigarettes to try to think that they're going to learn to be able to master this energy. Because if you're constantly putting blockages into the nadis, it's very difficult and impossible to learn to master the energetic flow. So lifestyle is a big role in those who want to be tantric, if they'd like to go into the deeper tantra. As I mentioned, the sense of purification that happens with this energy. Now, we talked about solo practice, and for men, the 3 Ps, practice, patience, and perseverance. Never give up, okay? This is also going to make a big difference in your health, okay? It's not only about spiritual evolution, this has got all the levels, the practical level of the health. If you're constantly depleting yourself, you are weakening your immune system. So by keeping this energy in, you get that much more powerful, that much more resistant to illness and disease. Also the erection, if men have problems with erection, misfunction, malfunction, dysfunction, whatever you want to call it, this path of Tantra, learning to move the energy and all the things that we're talking about, is one of the most therapeutic approaches to dealing with erectile dysfunction. As I said, it also works with the prostate, and literally learning how to maintain this energy rather than lose it increases your longevity. And this is a radical transformation that also amplifies your ability to be creative. So if you want to step into your full power, men, this is necessary. There's no way around this one. And this is the one in the yamas and niyamas when you get to brahmacharya and people say abstinence, meaning no more sex. A lot of men and women say, okay, I can do all the yoga except for that one. Now you don't have to give up sex. You just have to learn how to control the energy in a healthy way. So, this path is a path of courage because it really is very challenging, and it forces us to look at ourselves in a way that few other experiences can do. Another thing that helps for men to do the sublimation, when you're getting close to the point of no return, what happens? Energy sublimes right up and out. Now, think about this, how loud that was. I was getting complaints from the neighbors. We had to close all the windows and turn on the air conditioning and turn the music way up because we were going to get kicked out of the neighborhood. It's important to make sound though, okay? Sound is expressing emotion. Have you ever made love to someone who's silent? And you're like, am I doing this right? What's going on? I don't even know if they're enjoying. The expression is enticing, it's intoxicating, it's alluring, it turns you on when you hear your partner expressing their pleasure. And women, it also is exciting for you to hear the man's pleasure, yes? Yes. Right, so if the guy's silent, it's not that much of a turn on in both directions. So sound is a very important way to increase the energy and for men to sublime. Now, I learned that trick, and literally it's saved me many times. When I get to 99%, and my partner knows, it's, of course, the first few times it's like a little jarring, but once she understands what's happening, then she does it too. And we go into this energy sublimation together. And this is now, maybe some of these things sound weird. I want you to keep that open mind and understand that everything I'm doing here is with an intention and an awareness that it has a benefit and an effect. So when we do this together, we step into, it's like we're singing together, we're expressing, we're releasing. It's almost animalistic and primal, where you just let that sound come from the base of the spine and ah! And this helps a lot to move the energy. Breath, we know, and movement. Now, this is easy for men. A lot of the men, depending on the position that we're making love in, there's a lot of movement. If a woman is on the bottom, it could be possible for her to be very passive. So for both men and women, sound, breath, and movement are key factors for amplifying your orgasmic potential. And we'll talk about the women in a moment. So, communication. This is a big one, and a lot of men struggle with this, as I said, myself included. I wasn't very open about my emotions, my feelings, being honest about what I wanted or desired, and so I didn't necessarily feel like our connection was as deep as it could be when I was younger. When I learned these teachings and started applying them into my relationships, I could see that if I was more open with my communication, then there was more trust, there was more authenticity. And literally, there's great power in being vulnerable. And I'll talk about this in a bit. But the other thing that's important to remember at this point is that this is a path of honoring the woman as the goddess. Okay? Tantra says that everything in this universe is God and divine, meaning you are and I am. So if I'm looking at my partner and I see the goddess, how am I going to treat her? I'm going to worship her, I'm going to honor her, guide her, protect her, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that she has what she needs. So this is a different approach than the ego approach to a relationship. What am I getting out of this relationship? What is she or he going to do for me? And if they don't do what I want, if he leaves the toilet seat up or the dishes in the sink, I pull back. Or if she does whatever she does that upsets me and I pull back. That's not really staying open in unconditional love. So this is a path that's more than just the sexual understanding. This is about deeper relationships. And the good news is, if you do these practices and learn to sublime the energy, learn to stay away from the point of no return, you become a superior lover. And guys, every ego and every male would love to be the best lover that their woman has ever had. That's just the way it is. In fact, a lot of women probably feel that way too. They want to be the best lover that their partner has ever had. So this is a path to that level of mastery, and this is the path to fulfill your potential. Okay? Step into your full power, men, but it is a training that takes a few years. But you are all young men, we are all healthy. Do this for the next 2 years, and the next 30, 40, 50 years, wow. It just keeps getting better and better and better, I promise you. All right, on to the ladies. Okay? Now, women, the first step to becoming a tantric woman is to learn your body. And in the modern day, because of suppression and repression, a lot of women don't actually know their bodies very well or intimately. And this is preventing women from stepping into their full power to experience their full femininity. Okay, Tantra doesn't give a shit about political correctness. Men and women are different. Yes, they're equal, but we are different, and thank God, because that's what makes it interesting. Because if the men and women were the same, then how would this attraction be happening? It doesn't mean men and women only, guys. I know I say that, but that's just the most common relationship on the planet. Also, any other form of relationship is fine. But when you have that attraction to another, you have an opportunity to share yourself with another person. And if you don't know your own body, how can you know what turns you on the most? Which places are the most exciting to be touched? Which places get you to that place of expansion and orgasm? So women are also encouraged, just like men who need to master their energy, women need to understand their bodies through the art of self-stimulation, masturbation. And literally, I have talked to so many women over these 10 years, and to my surprise, because as a man, it's like, yeah, I masturbate almost too much probably as a young man. When you're a kid, you don't know what to do with all that energy. It's just too much. But women that I've talked to, there's a large percentage of women that never masturbate. And there's also a surprising percentage of women that never have orgasm from penetration, from intercourse, from sex. There's also women that never have orgasm from any stimulation. So this path of Tantra is a path to helping women step into their full femininity, helping them to experience this amazing body that God has given you. Because you have zones of pleasure that men do not have. You have body parts that are created only for pleasure. That's unique to the female human being. A man does not have that. So learning your body and learning what part of your body is going to send you off into space is part of your journey. Now in Sanskrit we have the word for the vagina, it's called yoni, but it doesn't just mean vagina, which sounds very hard, okay? Yoni, sounds so beautiful, flows off the tongue. Okay, so yoni literally means sacred space, and out of the yoni the whole universe is born. So this is the creation, and this is important to understand, that you are a goddess and that you have more power than you even know at this moment. But through the path of Tantra, through balancing your relationship with your own sexuality, you can step into your full femininity, your full power. Ladies, the good news is you have 7 or more different kinds of orgasm. Men are going, what the? We don't get anywhere near that. And some women are saying, really? I don't know about that. Well, let's go through them. Okay, the first one, some women, the lucky ones from the ones who have told me about it, so that they can reach orgasm through stimulation of the nipples. Then we go down into the yoni, and the entrance to the yoni is also have a lot of nerve endings. So just stimulation of the entrance to the yoni can bring about an orgasm from some women. Then if you go deeper in, there's the walls of the yoni, and stimulation of the walls for some women can create an orgasm. If we go back out to the entrance to the yoni and up a little bit, there's the clitoris. And the clitoris is generally the most accessible orgasm for the largest number of women. It's the easiest orgasm to achieve, let's say, for lack of a better word, or to experience. And this clitoral orgasm is something you all need to understand. It's very much like a male ejaculation in that it's very powerful, it doesn't last very long, and sometimes women feel depleted, actually, like they've lost energy from a clitoral orgasm. So Tantra doesn't say stop having clitoral orgasms, it says have more, but learn how to sublime the energy and have an implosive orgasm of the energy rising rather than an explosive energy or orgasm losing the energy. So you just learn to move this energy up. Now a lot of women, I don't know about a lot, I know women who have talked to me who use a vibrator. You know, they got the batteries, they zzz, get the vibration going, and they put that on the clitoris and they have an orgasm that way. This is actually something that is not helpful for your sexual life, because if you use the vibrator too often, it's actually going to desensitize your clitoris to the regular touch of a human being. And if you use it too often, you get dependent on that high level of vibration, and then you can't have an orgasm through normal stimulation. So take the batteries out and put them in your camera and put the vibrator away. Now, the other orgasms that can be had would be for those that like to go a little bit into the exploration of other parts of the body, the anal orgasm is also very powerful for some women. Then you have the combination of different of these mixed together, blended orgasms. So women, you are born for Tantra, literally, and you have the opportunity to go into states of ecstasy and pleasure that men may never actually experience through sex. So this is your gift as a woman. You have the power to be incredibly sexual beings. But we have to let go of the connotation that sex is somehow dirty or promiscuous. Guys, how did you get into this planet, into this body? Your parents had sex. If it wasn't for them having sex, you wouldn't be here. So there must be something okay with this process. Now, why did nature give this to women? I guess God's a woman, okay? Now, another thing that can happen is the G-spot orgasm. And I'm gonna give you graphic pictures in a very short moment. But when you go to the G-spot, that's entering into the yoni, and let's say this is a woman right here. Her head's there, her legs are open here, and here's her yoni. If you go into the yoni and you do this come here motion towards the belly, you can start to stimulate the G-spot. And men, if you don't know this, you better learn, okay? Trust me. Women, if you don't know this, you better learn. This is your body. If you don't know where your G-spot is or your clitoris is, then it's like not knowing where your elbow is, all right? This is part of your body. You need to figure this out. It's very important. So when the G-spot is stimulated, it opens up a possibility for a woman to have an ejaculation orgasm where liquid comes out. If If you've ever watched porn, it's called squirting. I don't know, I've never watched porn. But if you've ever watched it, it's called squirting. And this is not just some porn show, which I know they do fake it, but in real life, a woman with certain stimulation can have an ejaculation orgasm. And from the women I know, they say this is one of the greatest gifts of being a woman. When they release that liquid, it's called kalas or amrita, which literally means the nectar of immortality. And tantric texts say that we should drink this nectar in to prolong our life. It has psychoactive properties like psychoactive drugs, like LSD, like psilocybin mushrooms, etc. It changes the consciousness. So when a woman has this, what's happening is there is an energy that's literally being transformed into a physical material of liquid. This is called alchemy. Alchemy is changing something base, a low vibration, into a higher vibration. So when a woman has this female ejaculatory orgasm, it's not like a male ejaculation where she loses energy at all. What she's doing is purifying. And I can say from the women that I know and have been with, they feel like it's a sense of release, it's a sense of stepping into their femininity, and it's a feeling of purification. So it also brings, of course, an amazing sensation. It doesn't have to happen with an orgasm, it could just happen through stimulation. And some women can have it with stimulation of the clitoris, some can have it with stimulation of the G-spot. It's different for each woman. But if you have never had a female ejaculation, this is something that is a gift of the woman's body. And all women have the capacity to do this if we can bring the woman, or they can bring themselves, to a place of surrender and trust. And these are two big issues that we'll go back into. So women, also the art of self-pleasing. Now here's a technique that might be interesting to hear. When the woman is doing the self-stimulation, put a mirror in front of the yoni so that you can see. This is literally a flower that opens and creates this amazing life that gives life to the universe. It is a magical, mystical part of this universe. And if you haven't seen it yet, it's something to look into, literally, to understand the power that you have. So having a mirror there, and a lot of women are very shy about this, and a lot of cultures say, God forbid you even talk about masturbation, let alone do it. So please understand that this mastering of your body will help you to be a more balanced and integrated being. So as we said, the sound, now not like, ooh baby, you're so hot. It's more like the real sound, whatever you need to let out, not something staged or fake just because Jason said, okay, now I gotta make sound. Now, okay, good, you're so good, you're so good. So, but letting out sound is letting the energy flow. When you don't let the sound out, you're locking it down, you're holding it in. You wanna let it out, ladies, I know you do. So let it out, it feels good and it also turns your partner on. So this is also a way to sublime the energy. Use your breath, use your movement. Now, this is important because it is possible for a woman to be passive. It's possible for a man to lay on his back and be passive too. When we move the pelvis forward and back, like pumping, it's called the pelvic pump, and that generates more sexual energy. So either man or woman, the more that they do the pelvic thrusting, the more energy that they are creating in the sexual centers. And then that energy can be moved through the being. So sound, breath, and movement, all very important factors. As we talked about, Mula Bandha, the importance for women now, this is an amazing preparation. It's called Kegels or Kegels in the West for giving birth. And it helps to bring the yoni back into shape after giving birth. It helps to keep the lubrication, especially as women get older, things get less juicy. Remember, we get more vata as we get older, we get more dry. So men and women. So Mula Bandha helps to keep the energy flow down here. It helps dealing with problems with the menstrual cycle. It helps dealing with problems of not having orgasm. It helps with so many things that go beyond just the sexual response and even the yogic response. So men and women every day, Mula Bandha is one of the key, what did I call it? The master key. This is the key. If you can master Mula Bandha, it will change your body, your energy, your emotions, and your mind. As I said, as we pump this massive amount of powerful energy through the being, it is healing. Everything is energy, including emotions. And we all have difficult times in our lives where we store negative emotions, even at the cellular level. So we have them in our being, and they're trapped in there. By sending this energy through, you can purify, raise your vibration, and release these energetic blockages. Now, one way to do this is what's called yoni massage. There are professionals that what happens is the woman either with a man or a woman who's doing the massage, just allows herself to receive, and the masseuse makes sure, if it's done properly, to touch every part of the yoni. Because every part of the yoni, just like the hands and just like the feet and just like the ears, have reflexology points that affect the other organs in the body. So just like you massage the feet and you bring health to the organs, if you massage the entire yoni, you're also touching those reflexology points. And if there are any blockages, women tend to store negative emotions literally in the yoni. And this is what's preventing them from having orgasms, preventing them from having even sexual desire. So by doing yoni massage, you're touching every part of the yoni, and you can release blockages that have been stored in that part of the body. So it's a very powerful practice. You just need to find someone that you trust that knows what they're doing. If you want more information, ladies, talk to me later. Now, the other thing is what's called yoni eggs. Okay, so yoni eggs are made of different stones. And these stones, every stone or crystal has a specific energy, yes? So yoni egg comes from the tradition of China. In the ancient Chinese empresses, the leaders, kept this a secret because it gives the women so much power. They didn't want to share it with anybody else but the royal families. And by using this yoni egg, you start to bring energy, awareness, purification, health, and you do exercises and you start to develop the muscles of the yoni. And this is very important as women get older, after childbirth, but also because it makes the man feel amazing. When my partner can massage my, now here's the Sanskrit word for penis, lingam. So when a woman can use her muscles literally to massage the man's lingam, that is amazing for the man. And by learning to master these muscles, you can learn to master sublimation. You can increase the duration and frequency of your orgasms. You can increase the power of the orgasms that you experience. This, according to the women that I know that use this, becomes one of their best friends in this life. And I'm not even exaggerating. I've heard women say this to me, and not just one woman, several women say, this little egg is one of my best friends because of all the things it does. Now, there's 2 holes and allow you to string a little thing of dental floss through it and tie it into a circle. And you put the larger end into the yoni first, and the dental floss can hang out. Don't worry, you will never lose it. The yoni is not an infinite space. There is a certain place where it stops, so it can be fished out if needed. But if you have this string of dental floss that has wax around it so the string won't fall apart, you can use a finger and you create resistance. And then you use the muscles to try to move the egg up and down through the yoni canal. And you use the resistance on the string. It's like using a weight. You're building the muscles. And once you learn to control the muscles here, all I can do, because I'm not a woman, is share with you what the women have told me. It changes their lives. And go talk to Nikki. She'll tell you the same thing. And they come in 3 sizes. If you have had a child, then they recommend using one of the bigger sizes because it will help you to bring things back. Now, the other size, we have large, medium, and small. This is for the master, okay? Because the larger eggs are easier to feel, easier to move. Once a woman gets good at controlling the larger egg, then she goes to a smaller egg, and that's harder to feel and move, and then you get, it's like strength training. You grow slowly, stronger and stronger. This, you go smaller and smaller, okay? So I'm not going to give you a whole lecture on yoni eggs. I have them here if you'd like to get them. I don't know if I have enough for everybody, but they're 1,000 baht each if you like them. All the women that use them, that end up finding out how powerful this is, they tend to use them every day. I've had women that tell me they practice yoga with them. They sleep with them. They do whatever they want to do with them. You don't have sex with them okay, obviously. But this is something that is very powerful for health, healing, and all the other good stuff that I'm talking about. So I'm going to give you a website to look up more information on the yoni eggs. And of course, if you have personal questions, you can always come and ask me anytime. I know that sometimes questions about this type of topic aren't so comfortable in front of a group. So this is why I offer myself as assistance at any time that you need to talk to somebody. If you want to see the eggs and talk and buy one, just come see me after class, okay? I'll have these tomorrow morning at breakfast, because after this class you have Costa. So we get eggs for breakfast. Okay? Now, I saw a hand from Shannon go up.
One question in regards to, I know that there's the little silver balls that you can buy that you can use inside the vagina.
Yeah.
And you can massage those. Are those the same, or is that any different?
Different. Those are called Benoit balls, and actually they clink against each other and create a vibration. And so it's a similar idea, but a different tool. Now the thing about these is that they're not metal, they're made of, and traditionally they're made of what's called jade stone. And jade is a purification, it withdraws negative energy. So any negative energy that might be in the body gets pulled out into the stone, and then the stone is purified. You can put it in the moonlight, the full moon, you can put it on buried in the earth, you can put it in some water with salt in it, you can let it sit in the sun, and this purifies the energy of the stone. And this particular jade is called nephrite jade because it has a strong quality of purification. I know women who like to use rose quartz because it's very soft and opens the heart. And so each of the different types of stones will have a different energetic effect in the being. So yoni eggs are another powerful tool for women to open up themselves to the highest capacity of bliss. Now the big one is for women is coming into this idea of being able to trust their partner. If a woman can't trust, she cannot surrender fully. And a woman can never go into the fullest orgasmic potential if she can't surrender fully. So this is a big issue for a lot of women because they may have had relationships where they didn't have the trust in that intimacy and they couldn't allow themselves to surrender. So this idea of communication keeps coming up again and again and again. Let's think about it this way. To be vulnerable means to show all of yourself. And this is something we are terrified of because God forbid if I show something and my partner runs away. So I hide certain parts behind my mask. And then my partner tells me, I love you. Can I really believe it? Because she's only seen part of me. She hasn't seen the whole movie, the whole picture. She's only seen what I want her to see. And when she tells me I love you, there's a little bit of doubt. Would you love the shit if I showed it to you? And so this creates a certain distance between you and your partner. So being very vulnerable is one of the keys to going deeper into a loving relationship and being authentic and sharing the beauty as well as the challenges. Because this is a path of a spiritual union now. This isn't just about having great orgasms. This is about how do we evolve and go to God together. So trust is a major issue, surrender, communication. And this also, same story, can help you become the superior lover. Okay, now let's talk about tantric relationships. Good. So in a tantric relationship, it takes two to tango. If just one wants to be tantric and the other doesn't, it's not going to happen for the one who wants it. You won't be able to go into all these things I'm talking about if it's you trying to do this alone. So this creates also another sometimes questioning of our choices of partners. Because if we're choosing a partner that doesn't want to go in the same direction that we want to go in, especially with something this important in an intimate relationship, we need to evaluate if this is the right partner. So, what we do is we become whole individuals through this path. As I mentioned, two whole individuals come together, and if they separate for anywhere from an hour to a day to the rest of their lives, they're still whole. And okay, communication, trust, surrender. I think I'm trying to get this point across. But we need to have connection in a tantric relationship. Connection to have a successful spiritual relationship, according to a great teacher in the last century, Gurdjieff, he said that if you want to have a spiritual relationship, you have to have the connection, not only the body. Okay, yeah, we can have that physical attraction, the chemistry, and we want to go be like bunnies and have sex all day long. But if the heart and mind are not involved in that connection, it will never be a fulfilling relationship. So we need all three levels of our being to have the deepest level of relationship with a partner. Mon?
So you're saying...
Hang on a sec. Monica, did you have a question? I saw a hand go up.
So, from a biological and scientific perspective, is it possible when you're just having sex to completely detract the heart and mind? Literally from a physical and scientific perspective?
I would say that's more from a consciousness perspective where you choose to detach and isolate one part of your being from another. So it's not a biological thing where you detach your mind. That's a mental activity or a consciousness where you say, okay, I'm going to separate some part of myself from another part. And for some women, that is exactly what they do to be able to have sex, because maybe they've been traumatized, maybe they've had a bad relationship, and their partner wants to have sex, and maybe the woman doesn't want to. So unable to do this, they created a separation within them, a split within themselves. And this is not healthy at any level. So I understand where you're going with this, and for some women, this is a tool that they actually use to disassociate so that they can help the person that they love to have an experience that they'd like to have. I'm generalizing, obviously. Yeah? Okay? Your turn.
So are you saying that it's difficult or maybe impossible to have tantric sex if you don't love someone?
No, I'm not saying that. You can have sex with someone you don't love and you still have energy. But what happens is when people start going into Tantra, maybe they just have this physical chemistry and they say, okay, we can try this together. I'm attracted to you, let's go for it. As soon as you start going into this, your energy is gonna go into the heart and open it, and you're gonna fall in love. Like, I experimented with a lot of different things in my life, and I tried to make love without being in love, and eventually through the Tantra, I fell in love very quickly, actually, because the heart opens with all this massive energy going in. And if you're making love for hours, you're going to go deep, and you can't help but fall in love with this intimacy. So it's a natural way to go deeper into that love.
What about the mind?
What about
Mind.
the mind? What about the mind?
When you don't love someone and you fall in love via sex, where's the mind here?
This is a good question. Well, the mind has to accept and be willing to be open to this person. And then the emotion is what opens the mind. So if you feel that energy of love, that could change the way you think about this person, or think about relationship, or think about what it is that you actually want in your life at this time. Okay? Now, all of this stuff in a tantric relationship starts long before you get into the bedroom. Okay? The foreplay is every moment of every day, because it's how you treat each other, how you communicate, how much trust there is. That's what leads to the deeper level of intimacy and connection. It's not about how good you are at stimulating the G-spot. It's not about how good you are at having an erection for another hour. It's really about how you treat each other, and this is what opens the heart and mind to be surrendering to the partner. So when we get into this deep level of communication and we have studied our bodies through our solo practice, we can ask, show, tell, and guide our partners exactly what we like, don't like, what we need, don't need. And then it's not like, there are moments when you just want to explore and discover, but there are moments when you're like, all right, get to the point already. You're all over the place and you're not anywhere where I want you to be. So for women, this is a big issue, because a lot of men in this world, and this is not an insult, but this is what I hear from so many women, that men just don't know what the hell they're doing in the bedroom. And so the women are continually frustrated. And this is a sadness for the women, because they don't feel, they love this person and they want to go deeper into the connection, but there's a physical impediment, a blockage, because the man doesn't know what he's doing and he sometimes ejaculates before the woman even gets turned on. So learning how to, in a loving way, guide and teach your partner what it is that you like helps the partner to understand, and then you get what you need, which is an important part of this process of going to the places that you know will create the most ecstasy. To create, because it's not, again, about ecstasy, it's about raising your vibration. So we talked about the power of vulnerability and authenticity, and literally, again, as you see the god or goddess in front of you, we all have egos, we all have masks, but underneath that ego, underneath and behind that mask, is the divinity looking out through the eyes to see the world. So if you can see beyond the mask and understand that the person you are making love to is divine, but not only that, that person should be served, honored, respected, guided, and protected. And when we put the other person's needs first in relationship, two people putting the other person's needs first, that means everybody's needs get met. So we take care of the other as if this is the most important person in our life, because hopefully in an intimate relationship it is. And this is what takes you into love. It's not about the sex, but the sex is an expression. It's a manifestation that we use the physical body to express this desire for union. So when we actually get to the point where we want to make love, you can have as many quickies as you like. You can do it wherever you want. I've had sex all over Vikasa, and there's lots of beautiful places here to make love at night when nobody's around, obviously. I told you I'd be honest. And what Tantra says is keep that fire burning, but also take times once a week, once a month, where you set aside an hour, 2 hours, a whole day to create a beautiful ritual and a ceremony. And in that time, you approach this as something sacred. Every act of making love is sacred because it's the union of God and Goddess. But when you make a ritual and ceremony, it brings the vibration even higher because you create a sacred space with certain lighting, candles, certain scents that are uplifting, certain sounds like music that opens the heart rather than, you know, gangster rap in the bedroom, which I don't think would ever really work anyway. But the understanding that you create an environment for a sacred experience, okay? And as you do this, you set the intention. Remember, in yoga, we are doing everything consciously. Everything. You're brushing your teeth consciously. You're doing your asana consciously. You're doing your pranayama. You're doing your work. You're doing your relationship consciously. So you set your intention as you go into this experience. And I and my partners, in the past, I don't have multiple now, in the past, we pray together. We invite the divine into the bedroom because guess what? She's already there. She's everywhere. So by inviting the divine in consciously, you make this more of an awareness of how sacred this union is. So we can pray before, during, and after making love. We can also do meditation before, during, and after making love. And one of the best meditations to do, what would you guess? And a couple. What? What'd you say? Exactly what I wanted to hear. Eye gazing. Imagine starting to make love where the first thing you do is look into the soul of your partner. Will that change the experience than if you just want to get an orgasm and go to sleep? This is a very different paradigm from which to approach your sexual relationships. So meditation before, during, and after. And it's the orgasms that can help us to go into deeper states of meditation. Again, this idea of sublimation, men and women. George, you with us or are you sleeping? Sublimation before, during, and after, men and women. So if my partner and I are having a ceremony, we can do eye gazing, and guess what? Eye gazing sublimes the energy beautifully. But also we can breathe together. We can do a meditation together. We can do headstand together, shoulder stand together, whatever works for you. The important thing is you slow down, okay? The faster you go, the less conscious you become. Everything's a rush. This is the modern McDonald's sex. Everything's over in 10 minutes before it even really got started. Slowing down is a huge part of starting to build the energy slowly, get the boiling point rising higher and higher, and foreplay becomes very much an important part of the practice because we want to awaken all the senses, the sense of touch, the sense of smell, the sight. And it's a dance. It's an erotic play where you're enticing each other. And you can take turns where one person is receiving one day and doesn't have to do anything but enjoy. Then the other day, the other person gets to receive and be worshipped. And this way, you're taking care of each other and you give honor and this sense of respect to each other through the process, through the ceremony. And for men, the first 1 to 15 minutes of penetration where there's actually the lingam entering into the yoni, because suddenly there's a tremendous amount of Shakti energy coming into the male's body and it can be overwhelming and cause the man to go right to ejaculation. This is why so many men struggle with premature ejaculation, because they haven't done Mula Bandha. They haven't learned sublimation. They haven't learned to move the energy. So if we know these things, by slowing down in the first minute, the first 15 minutes, then the man gets adapted to this more and more intense energy. And by going slow, you can stop, you can breathe, you can make sound, whatever it is that you need to do, but gently and slowly build like a slow crescendo, not right up. If you want to have a quickie and go right up, that's fine. But in this ritual, we take our time. So for men, the first 1 to 15 minutes is the hardest to control the ejaculation. After about 10 to 15 minutes of making love, in my own experience, then it's so much easier to control everything and you can start to get more playful, more passionate, more fiery. Now, there's different types of breathing that we can do together. One is called breathing literally together, where we inhale together and exhale together. We can do this while eye gazing. We can do this back to back. We can do this in a loving embrace. The beautiful way that I like, that I find even more powerful, is called reciprocal breath. That means when my partner exhales, I'm inhaling her out breath. Then when I exhale, she's inhaling my exhalation. And we're sharing the essence, the prana, the life force back and forth together. And it sets you into resonance, harmony with their vibration. So by breathing together, you're coming into a deeper, more subtle level of union and resonance, connection. So breathing together is very important. You can do the microcosmic orbit together. Okay, there's going to be some more things that I show you. Oh gosh, am I running out of time? We're doing okay. So the microcosmic orbit is where you decide together which person is part of the orbit. So you could breathe the energy up her spine and then down your spine. Up her spine, down your spine. And you create an orbit that connects both of you. And there's many different ways to do the orbits. You can do, I'm not going to go into it, but you understand the idea. If you want more info, you can research. Eye gazing, remember the idea about eye gazing from yesterday with transfiguration. Transfiguration means seeing beyond the mask and seeing the divine in the other. And if you can do this, then you're making love to God. You're making love to a goddess. And remember that your partner is one of the most powerful mirrors in your life. You spend a lot of time with this person, and so they are always reflecting back to you something about yourself. And sometimes it's very hard to deal with that constant reflection because it's easier to escape our nonsense than to face it sometimes. So this path of relationship is actually one of the most powerful modern approaches to spiritual evolution, by understanding that your mirror is teaching you constantly about who you are, about how you relate to another, about your love and your connection. So the orgasm can lead to meditation. When making love, it's not like I can make love for 5 hours straight. I'm not Superman. What we do is we have yang and yin, where you make love for a while and then you rest. And you make love again and you rest. And you make love again and you rest throughout as long as you like. So what we do is we build the energy, build the energy, build the energy, and then it's very powerful for the man to stay inside the woman and they just relax, completely surrendered, and let that energy now do the sublimation automatically. It just starts flowing up because it's so powerful. It wants to transcend and move up. So this idea of rest is part of the game. You dance and then you chill, and then you dance and you chill, and you keep building these waves of pleasure going higher and higher. And I can tell you from my own experience, I've done meditation for years, and it's very challenging, but when I am having a good session of lovemaking for a long time and that energy's flowing and then we stop and just rest, I go into meditation so easily. I don't have to think about anything or do mental concentration. That energy is taking me to another space. So the idea of making love, even if it's not orgasmic love, but making love for a longer time, can actually help you go into states of meditation that you may not have ever experienced from a seated meditation, because it's so powerful, this energy, to help change your consciousness.
Is it in the end then, according to Tantra, let's say the plan that not after 5 minutes, but after, I don't know, 30 or 40 minutes or whatever, or when you build up, get to that ejaculation?
No. So men should stop ejaculating altogether unless they're going to make a baby. That's the teaching.
Sorry, guys.
It's okay. It's not a loss. Once you get to this next stage, it's not a loss. It's a feeling of stepping in. When I finish making love, I don't want to take a nap. I'm ready to go swim and jump and dance because now I have so much energy running through me. Rather than being depleted, I feel like I have gotten an infusion of tremendous power. So it's very different for men, but it takes time, and that's the hard part, is that jump from no more ejaculation to the jump where you get to the full body orgasm. That space in between is what makes most men quit Tantra, because they don't have the patience or the determination or the discipline. So the best times to make love for men, when's the best time for a man to make love? Morning. Exactly. When's the best time for a woman to make love? Yeah, that's a problem. So women, if you want to have your man at his most powerful peak, get ready to make love in the morning. Okay, because that's when he's at his strongest, literally. He wakes up, many men wake up with an erection ready to go. So jump on it. The other time is in the evening for men, especially if they've had a hard day. They've had stress, they've been working, they've had a lot of things going on in their mind. This stress at the mental level is what causes problems for men with their erections. So women, this is, men have to deal with controlling their ejaculation. Women, you have to deal with men's rhythms sometimes. You'd like to make love at night, but he's exhausted. So go to bed early, get up early, and make yourself a little bit of a morning ritual, okay? Of course you can make love at night, and the energy is very different. It's actually much more feminine, receptive, and easier to surrender in the evening than it is during the blazing heat of the sun-shining day. Times to not make love, especially for men, do not make love after a heavy meal. You know the date, you go out for dinner, you have a bottle of wine, and then you go home and make love. You got all this food and alcohol in your belly, and then you can't control anything. Okay, maybe the alcohol makes you numb and you can last a little longer, but essentially that alcohol is going to numb everything and it will change how you approach sex. So it's very important for men not to make love right after eating. If you have a belly full of food, you'll never do sublimation. It just won't happen. Another time for men that's difficult to control the ejaculation is during the full moon. The full moon energy is the most feminine, the most yin, which means we have the least control of our emotions and mind. That's why the craziness happens on full moon, and the emergency rooms are the most busy during the full moons because all the accidents that happen. So for men, that yin energy, that feminine energy, that energy of surrender can be too strong. So if you're a beginner on Tantra, they say try not to make love to a woman on the full moon because it's that much harder to control. Now, I was mentioning before, if you're interested in manifesting things in your life at the physical reality, you can do this with sex magic. You build the energy, you send it into the third eye, and you visualize what you want to manifest. So it's not just the power of the mind, it's also your creative force going into the visualization. And you can do this with a partner, okay? You have the same intention, and when she reaches orgasm, you are visualizing the same thing. It's a very different experience sexually, but it's a powerful way. It's magic. It's a powerful way to manifest something in your life. So you have this intention before the ritual starts that when the orgasm happens for either you or her, or at the same time, hopefully, then you can visualize whatever it is that you want to manifest. You could even speak the words out loud, the power of sound of the voice, and you send that energy into the visualization. That's a very short, superficial introduction to sex magic. It's a much vaster topic than that, but I'm running out of time. So as we're making love to another human being, we are merging with that being, meaning our energy, our aura, our soul is coming into contact with their energy, their aura, and their soul. So choose wisely who you decide to merge with, because whatever it is that you're doing, there will be karmic consequences. And if you are mixing with an energy that you don't feel is totally balanced, you may feel some of that imbalance come into your being. So there's a lot of New Age Tantra, New Age Tantra that says, go make love to as many people as you can, and then you'll get to experience a lot of different energies, and that will fulfill different parts of your being because you can't get all the fulfillment from one person. And some people find that this works for them. Okay, remember in Tantra, nothing is judged, nothing is wrong. It's whoever needs to do whatever they need to do, go for it. But the idea is that the more partners you have, the more energy you're bringing in from those partners, and everybody has imbalances. So the more imbalances you're bringing in, but you're also at the same time bringing in beautiful aspects too. So there's a bit of a balance here. So different teachers in the modern world have different approaches to teaching Tantra is what I want you to understand. Not everybody's going to say what I am saying here. I come from a very much of a Tantric, chakra, sublimation, spiritual path. But there are many teachers out there who are just focusing on good sex, and that's fine. If that's what you need, then all the more power to you. As I said, purification, transformation of consciousness. This is yoga. Now, one of the greatest lessons that we can get from the Tantric practice is what is the true nature of love. We say I love you, we use the word unconditional love so easily, and as I already mentioned, if our partner does something we don't like, we pull back. And maybe we even create a distance, or sometimes people withhold sex from the other. There's all kinds of games we play in relationships, yes? Well, the idea is to understand the true nature of love is unconditional. And that word gets thrown around a lot also. Doesn't matter what you say, doesn't matter what you think, believe, or do, I love you the same. Even if you screw up, I still love you no matter what. Like a love of a mother for her child is the way that I think of it. How many times have I screwed up and my mom still is there for me? Can we do that for our partner? Can we understand that they are human with imperfections just like we are? We're all going to make mistakes. Can we continue to go forward and into the intimacy rather than pull back? This is a very powerful teaching for most of us because we start to close. Something they do we don't like, boom. And that is not love, okay? So this is a path of really starting to go deeper into what is love. This is the path of transcending your ego, and this allows you to use the relationship as your spiritual path. Because now you are going to God together. You're doing your practices together. My partner and I, we do yoga in the morning. We do sublimation, then we make love. It's actually an amazing time to make love right after yoga. You got everything flowing, and then you go right into this sweaty embrace, and it's already there. Now, a lot of people say, this is great information, Jason. What if I'm single? Good for you. Be single. Raise your vibration, and by the law of attraction, you'll attract a beautiful being into your life because you have evolved yourself while you're single and had the opportunity to focus on your own evolution. Being single is not a curse. Being single is an opportunity to become a whole being. Then when you go into your next relationship, you'll be at a higher level. So don't worry about being single. Do your practices, raise your vibration, and when the time is right, that person will walk into your life. So create the resonance. Now, what I'd like to show you is one particular posture, and I had a volunteer who's brave enough to come up and demonstrate. We're going to keep our clothes on. It's not even very sexual, but if you would please, Yurdi, come on down. This is called Yab Yum, okay? And this is the union of grandmother and grandfather. This is a traditional concept out of Tantra, and it also is very important symbolism. It's not about two human beings having sex at the symbolic level. It's about the union of Shiva and Shakti, the god and the goddess. It's about yoga, union. And so if you go to India, you can go to places like Khajuraho that has a temple with hundreds of carvings of people in different sexual positions together on a temple. And the Westerners go there and say, what is this? Is this ancient porn? Is this the original porn? No, it's symbolic for the infinite variety of manifestation in this physical reality. So they show that by how it's showing many different possibilities of lovemaking through the physical form. So it's symbolic. But at the physical level, what you're doing is bringing the chakras into alignment. You can breathe together, you can do eye gazing together, you can meditate together. You could be making love or not even making love. There could be no penetration. So this is a way to come into alignment with your partner. So let's show them what it looks like. It's the first time she's done it, and she's very courageous to do this with me. Okay.
How can I do it?
So bring your feet back here.
Yeah.
Put the soles of your feet together. Okay. Good. Now, when we have the soles of our feet together, we connect an energy circuit. Yes, her feet are together back here, soles of the feet.
Yeah.
When I place my hand on her sacrum, the sacrum is one of the sexual centers. So I can place my other hand on the back of her heart, and she can do the same on my back. Low back. Gotta find the way to do it. Okay. We can help each other sublime the energy, moving the energy up with our hands. We can look into each other's eyes and do eye gazing. We can do the reciprocal breath. When I exhale, she inhales. When she exhales, I inhale. And we breathe together. Our chakras are in alignment. This way we're connecting at the subtle level. We can meditate, we can breathe, we can make love, or we can just be in a state of happiness together. Okay? So this is called Yab Yum. And why do we do this? Because when the spine is vertical, this is how we'd move the sublimation of energy. When you're laying down on your back, it's very hard to sublime the energy as efficiently. And of course, all the chakras... Okay. So this is what Yab Yum looks like, and it's a beautiful way to experience this connection at all the things I've mentioned, okay? Thank you, Yuri.
No worries.
Okay. Okay. So let's show you what it looks like from some of the symbolism. Actually, before I get there, I'm going to go through some other slides. I have a feeling I'm going to go a little long today, if that's okay with you guys, maybe a few extra minutes. Now, when you go out into the world and decide that you want to study more, you're going to start doing research. I have a slide here that gives you teachers that I find to be respectable and of a high quality, and it gives you some books. So if you want more information, there's a few books that I have found to be tremendously beneficial. So I'll give you that. Everybody's going to get this PowerPoint slides, so don't worry about wording it down. As you go out there and look for teachers and workshops, be prepared and do your research, because you can get to a workshop and everybody's clothes are off and they could be doing massage on each other, they could be having group sex. This is part of the New Age Tantric world. If you want that, go for it. If you don't want it, make sure you understand what's going to happen in that workshop, or you could end up in a place where you're not ready to be, and that's fine. Why do people do this? Well, one of the understandings or theories behind why people would want to go to a workshop like this is to let down their boundaries and their belief that somehow sex should be hidden. Let's just bring it out in the open and everybody can see, and there's nothing dirty, there's nothing wrong, everybody's enjoying, and it's a beautiful experience. And some people like and need to have their buttons pushed a little bit, to be confronted, to have them look more deeply into their belief system or how they view themselves or their relationship with sex. So by putting into a very extreme situation where everybody's naked or everybody's doing massage or having sex, then you are confronted very powerfully with what it is you think is right or wrong. All right? So this is some of the theory, philosophy behind why they do what they do. Another idea that comes up a lot is open relationships. Some people believe that this works for them, others do not. Again, we are not here to judge anybody's sexual path. We are here to explore ourselves, find our love, and let that love radiate into the world. Whatever anybody wants to do, as long as they're not harming anyone else, that's fine, according to Tantra. So there's a lot of different approaches to Tantra, as I mentioned the Neo-Tantra thing as well. So we talked about love of unconditional. This is the summary. Expansion of consciousness. This is what all of this path is about. It's not about the orgasm, but that's probably one of the, let's call it the icing on the cake. Remember our natural state, Sat, Chit, Ananda. Ananda is bliss. By making love, we can access bliss. So this is helping us come back to our natural state. You are being, you are consciousness, you are bliss. And you get the best sex ever. Truly. Like it's so different than what I had experienced prior. So for all the reasons, from incredible pleasure to incredible spiritual evolution. Now, I want to show you some more things. This is Yab Yum symbolically. And this is more out of Tibet. This is more of a Tibetan symbology. And you can see it's a man and a woman, Shiva and Shakti, or however you want to say it, Shiva and Parvati, his consort. And it has all kinds of significance within this symbolism that I'm not going to go into at this time. So Yab Yum is the union of father and mother, the union of compassion and wisdom. On the right-hand slide, you can see that's an animation of the chakras. So when you're in Yab Yum, your chakras connect. Now, just to give you a quick overview of the female body, because men need to know this if you don't know this, and women, you also need to know this. What I wanted to show here mostly was not this slide at all, actually. Okay, see, I told you I was going to get graphic in here. I hope you're okay with this. But it's important for men and women to know that this is where the clitoris is, okay? This is actually hidden under a hood of skin, a flap of skin, so it couldn't be out of view. But the interesting thing about the clitoris for women and for men to know is that this has, I can't remember, like 300,000 nerve endings, where the tip of the penis has 10,000. So the level of sensitivity of the clitoris is tremendous compared to the sensitivity for the man. And the clitoris is not just something, that little thing that is under the flap of skin. It's actually quite large, and we're going to go into what it looks like in a minute. So when you pull the flap of the skin back, this is when you can see the clitoris. These are called the labia, or the lips of the yoni, and there's outer lips and inner lips. The labia majora, the larger lips, the labia minora, the smaller lips. And learning this anatomy, but through massage, through experimentation, exploration, you learn for yourself as a woman what feels best, and then you can help your man to go there with you. Now, this is what I wanted to show you. The clitoris is not just this. It's actually this whole thing that goes all the way into and behind the walls of the yoni. So this is, by stimulating the clitoris, you're actually bringing energy to the whole yoni as well. This is just a little model of what a clitoris looks like outside of a drawing or the physical body. Okay, that's, I don't know if that's to scale or not. Anyway, not to worry. Now, this is what I was trying to show you about the G-spot orgasm for a man. For a man to try to get to that G-spot.
Arrived at the right time.
Yes. As I was saying, it's this come here motion. okay? Placing the fingers into the yoni, coming here towards the front of the body, and this you can start to feel. It's like a little bit of a, it's got texture, and it feels almost like the tip of a tongue with ridges or dimples like a golf ball. And as it's stimulated, it begins to expand like an erection of a penis. Same thing in the clitoris. As it's stimulated, that also gets engorged or blood flowing into it, and it becomes harder like an erection of a penis or a lingam. So that's just another understanding of what it could look like. Lots of understandings here of what it could look like. I guess I got kind of excited about this one. Oh, there's another one. All right. Now, in order to stimulate that G-spot as a woman alone, it can be hard. That's a tough angle, all right? You need to do some more of those coast to shoulder stretches to get in there. So ladies, you should all be thanking Costa, actually, because he's the only one who teaches this. So, because of the angle, there are toys that are built for G-spot stimulation that have a curve in them. So you can hold it, stimulate your own G-spot. And why do we want to do that? Because remember the power of the female ejaculation, the amritas or kalas. And as I said, that female ejaculation is called the nectar of immortality. It brings long life. So when my partner and I are making love and she has that ejaculation, I either collect it directly from the source with my mouth and then I share it with her and we drink it together, or we collect it into a cup and we drink it together. And this also creates a resonance at a vibrational level that's much higher, much more subtle. And I see people going,
Are we sure it's not pee? Because it feels like...
Okay, so people ask this all the time. It feels like pee. The first sensation a woman will have when she's about to have a female ejaculation is that she needs to pee. So what the tantrics say is go pee before you make love so that you know your bladder's empty. Then when you get to that, you release and let it happen. What I've had to do with partners is some women have a lot, like up to a liter through the course of making love, and that will ruin a mattress. So we have to put down plastic. I'm being honest, okay? We have a raincoat that's specific for this activity, and we put a towel or a sheet over it. And then you can have as much kalas as you like, squirting all over the room. And this, actually, if a woman is a yogi and has a healthy diet, it tastes incredibly sweet. Same thing for a man's ejaculate. If he's pure, his semen actually tastes, according to the women, not me, tastes pretty good. So the female ejaculation, the most easy way to have that is through the G-spot stimulation. This is why this is important, because then you step into that understanding that I said before of having this sense of purification, release, raising your vibration, feeling more feminine. So the G-spot can be very powerful for a woman to come into connection with, for her own empowerment, literally. This is another tool or toy that's called a wand, and you can hold one end and use the other end. Obviously, I don't need to explain it. Okay. Let's see. Okay, now, genital reflexology is important also. Remember, I said the yoni has reflexology points. Kidneys, liver, pancreas, screen, etc. Here's what's interesting. The deepest part of the yoni is connected to the heart. The tip of the man's penis is the heart reflexology point. So when the man's penis, the tip, touches the deepest part of the yoni, it's a heart-to-heart connection. And all of these different reflexology points line up when there's full penetration. That's a beautiful thing. This comes out of Taoism, actually, more than out of Tantra. Now, transfiguration, we would have rituals at the other school where everybody gets together and we do a transfiguration, and we would do it for 2 hours. And just that circle we did yesterday, we would do that circle for 2 hours and do it with 30, 40, 50 people. And you start to feel very intensely because the energy in the room is building and everybody's in that zone and everybody's focusing because they're all yogis, so they know how to concentrate the mind. And it's a very powerful experience to do it together in a group. Now, there are aphrodisiacs. There are things from nature that can help to build that fire if you feel like you don't have the sexual fire. There's definitely foods, and as I've said before in Ayurveda, herbs are something we should all look into because they are a gift from nature to bring us into balance. There are herbs for men and for women. The one that is the most powerful for men, it's not like Viagra, but it helps the body to create testosterone, which is the male hormone. It's not a testosterone supplement. It's activating the body's own production. So it's not some foreign substance. And this literally makes a man feel like he's 18 again. I can tell you a few years ago, 40, I started to notice a difference in my body and my erections. I'm being very clear. And I got freaked out. I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting old. I don't have the same that I used to have. So I started researching, and of course there's Viagra, but I knew that that's a chemical and I didn't want to put that junk into my body. And I found through experimentation and through research that Tongkat Ali, for me, works the best. And it's like being 18. You can have a hard-on for hours and it lasts as long as you want it to. Now for women, as I told you, there are herbs that help with balancing your hormones. It helps with deal with problems with menstruation, and the big one is Shatavari. So I really recommend the women look into that for everybody. There are scents that stimulate sexual attraction or sexual desire, vanilla and sandalwood being two of many options. Now these are the books that I want you to understand. Sexual Secrets, the first book, is an encyclopedia of Tantra and Taoist teachings on sexuality. If you want to understand more about this, go to this book first. If you read this book, you're going to know more than most Tantra teachers, literally. It's an incredible book. It's been written in the 70s and nobody's done better ever since, and it's full of beautiful drawings and animations that help. Now, The Vagina by Naomi Wolf, I read this book. My partner has read this book, my last partner, and we read it together and talked about the information in there. And it's tremendous for women to help them understand the power of their yoni and the power of how that impacts not just sex, but also their feeling of self-worth, their self-image, and also their ability to create and manifest in the world. So for this, I've been through 10 years of looking at books. These are the books that I recommend first for men and women. The next one of the greatest teachers on Tantra is Osho. And if you haven't seen a video of Osho on YouTube, please go look him up. He's one of the funniest teachers I've ever seen at the same time. He's incredibly brilliant, and he talks a lot about Tantra and the path of awakening to our highest potential through lovemaking. Tantric Quest is a story written by a guy who went to India, found a Tantrika. A woman is a Tantrika, and found a Tantrika to teach him about Tantric sexuality and Tantric path. And that's a beautiful story as well. And the last one is something I recommend for every man who would like to step into their full power. It's called The Way of the Superior Man.